That's what I'm doing. Happy Friday. I have two singles right this very second on the Billboard charts, top 25. No independent artist has done this in like decades. Nonetheless, I finally watched Taken like Taken in Plain Sight or whatever it's called in sight, something sight, the other night, last night on Netflix. The girl, her name's Jan, 12 years old. I'm going to tread really lightly. So I went into the rabbit hole. The girl in 1974 who just goes on like a 3-4 week trip with this guy. Yeah. His last name's Birch Told, and her last name is Broberg. Netflix did a show on it. This story is nuts. I'm going to be very delicate, and I didn't want to talk about it last night because it's like I wanted to get even more. I wanted to get caught up and know exactly what I was saying because obviously there have been people that have been affected by childhood trauma such as this. So this dude, 2 years before, is good friends with the family, and he's always inviting this girl and her sisters over to their house. And I still don't even realize, did he have kids himself? I don't know. He was married. They'd sleep out on like the trampoline all the time, and they loved him. They called him B. And they would hang out with this guy. And 2 years later, you come to find out he steals the girl, and the parents are totally fine with it because they think they're just on like a trip. 3 weeks go by. Come to find out, she comes home from Mexico because she got married to him because it's legal to be 12 and get married, which is absurd. But I'm done. I'm not done. During this time, this guy flat out is working the parents, has a sexual relationship with the dad, has an affair for 11 months or 10 months with the mom, and somehow manages, after she comes home from Mexico, the little girl, he tells her like, "Hey, aliens." This. I sound like a nut job. This is just me passing this story on, by the way. Aliens have chosen you to have my kid, and you can't tell anybody, or they're gonna take your sister, and your family will be evaporated. So she honors that. She believes it to be true. He goes to therapy. Well, says he goes to therapy. He doesn't really go to therapy. The person's not even a licensed therapist. He comes to their house, the Broberg parents, who are already stupid enough to let her go for weeks at a time. He goes to the parents. He's like, "Hey, I've got these tapes. I have to put the headphones on. I have to go and lay with your daughters, but I have to listen to what they're saying. This is real, and this is nuts." So for 6 months, he gets to sleep in bed with this little girl, and he takes her again. By the way, he takes her again because he convinces the mom that he will out the husband as a homosexual if she doesn't drop charges from the previous taking. If you're following me, this is so nuts. It's like, why do I, you know what? It's my hobby, guys. If he doesn't drop she doesn't drop the charges, nonetheless, the little 12-year-old's now 13, and she goes to a summer camp that he bought in Wisconsin or something, I don't know, to work there. It's nuts. And anybody who's been affected by child abuse of any kind, abduction of any kind, it's such a sensitive topic to even discuss. If you want to dip your toe, there's a show. It's a show called Taken in Plain Sight, Taken in Plain Sight. Twice, 2 times, he takes her, he steals her, and he's a nut job, and he triangulates the entire family. But the parents, in my opinion, they were sissies. And this is what I do at night after a long day. It's like, no wonder I can't sleep at night. I did sleep very, very well, though. But I didn't want to. I started to talk about it last night, if you all saw the live, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to go there. Let's kind of pivot. Because there's so many things to it. This young girl, now an adult, she's been on like Dr. Phil. She's gone and talked to a number of different outlets, news outlets, people, and just telling her story because that little 12-year-old really did believe that she was a chosen one for these aliens. And this guy went to great lengths. He recorded himself. He distorted his voice. He would play these tapes for this girl in a motorhome. I sound like I'm on crack cocaine. I'm not. But it's wild. And then Netflix, or the people, the production company, or whoever the hell made this documentary, got a lot of flack because apparently they left out some key parts. Those key parts I still am not 100% on, but I will read up on that because it's what I do. It's the It's the web we weave. But I wanted to at least kind of touch on that because I started to last night, watched it again last night, and here we are tonight. So today has been filled with meetings with like PR. So when you have two singles in the top 25 on AC radio, on Billboard, by the way, it's not been done in decades, and you're like, well, you need. There's press that go in behind it, right? There are people that are like, hey, here's Nathan's story. So that's what's happening. And I'm just doing some spring cleaning in the closet. Does anybody want a vinyl? You can get one. Just click the link in the description. But that's what's going on over here. Played with the kiddos of my 5-year-old. So the family room has this like wooden outline. I don't know how else to describe it. And he says, chase me, Dad. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking that his little 5-year-old legs are going to get tired after a little bit. Like 10 laps maybe. He's good. No. No. I either am really out of shape or he's in like really good shape. And I'm afraid that I'm out of shape. It was not good, you all. So we ran for a little bit and rode on a golf cart today in 16-degree weather with my 8-year-old. But that's the price you pay whenever you have 64 kids, I guess, you know? Nonetheless, apparently, because of these lives, and you all like to listen to me ramble, I don't know why, but I appreciate it. The channel is growing leaps and bounds here, and I'm grateful for it because everybody who's subscribing and clicking the bell and all that, apparently you have to say that when you do these videos. You say, be sure to subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified when I release new content. It's really starting to kind of take off. Normally, the way it works, everybody, just so you know, is people kind of have one platform that skyrockets. In my case, it's TikTok. And then the other platforms aren't really paid attention to. But thankfully, I have this team of incredible people. There's Manuel, there's Daniel, there's Sandy, and they're working nonstop. We're creating content. 5 pieces. How does it work? What, 25? Yeah. 20. We do 5 videos a day across like 5 or 6 platforms. 6 platforms. So that's 30 videos. 30 pieces of content a day. It's pretty nuts. It's really nuts. And I'm excited that it's starting to take off. Alex Hormozy, I think that's how we say his name. Alex Hormozy is 32 years old. And he is, you've probably seen him on your feed somewhere. But he got into the gym world. He had, I believe his story is he owned a gym, realized he gets it, goes and helps rehab gym owners in their gyms. And then he started to buy them, build them, and then sell them. And he is the king of just showing up. Because if you get stuck on the numbers and the analytics and like, you know, nobody's watching or nobody's listening or nobody cares, then you stop showing up. You stop doing the work. And then, of course, every bit of momentum that you have going, it stops. So that is what we're doing. We're just continuing to show up. And that is the method to the madness. I think there's a guy, I forget his name, but he lives on a farm with his husband. He lives on a farm with his husband. And I think he started his channel on YouTube, and he's a photographer, and he took boudoir, yeah, photos. And then he started to do other stuff like showing himself around the farm. And then now he's going on a comedy tour, and he's like selling out theaters and other big venues. And I'm like, interesting. All that to say, it's like you show up, you came for the funerals, you're staying for the music, and then you're listening to me ramble about my hobbies. Like I love the true crime podcasts, and we talked about White Boy Rick last night. I think. Didn't we? No. What did we talk about last night? I don't remember what we talked about last night, but I do have to make a confession because the other night we released this video, and it's like totally all the stories about White Boy Rick. And I'm like, Hollywood needs to get involved and do a big movie on it. And they did in 2018, and Matthew McConaughey's in it. And I'm just totally jumping over that obvious thing and saying Hollywood needs to do it. Nonetheless, they did. They did do it. Kid Rock's a friend of White Boy Rick. Just so you know, if you didn't already. The more you know, guys. The more you know. But that is my encouragement to you all. Is if you're going to have a 5-year-old kid, then be ready to run in circles. And they will outrun you. They totally will. There's another documentary that I can't wait to watch. It's on, I believe, Apple TV. It was text message to me. I would look. But it's some unsolved case. Do you all have like favorite podcasts or favorite like crime podcasts or paranormal podcasts that you all listen to? My brother always is sending me stuff too, so it's, I don't know what got us on this whole idea of, I think it's just the unknown, really. Does anybody want some socks? You know, brand new socks. Oh, got 3 vinyls. Click the link in the description if you want one. I was supposed to have a bunch of questions that we had picked, that we've gone through, and we have. Crime Junkie, yeah. Crime Junkie's a good one. You know, the way it flows, I really admire what they're doing, but I have a hard time staying, because it's like, you know, they kind of get all, so it's like me. So if I was watching me or listening to me, I would have a hard time. I'd be like, oh. But it's a good podcast. Is that the one with Ashley Flowers? Nonetheless, she's doing a lot of stuff. She has been very instrumental in a lot of cases that would be considered cold, or cases that law enforcement has deemed, you know what, we don't care. I say that loosely. Like, they have other bigger cases that are more important or more high profile. And she's been really instrumental in pushing these cases to a solution. She goes to these conferences, and she's been a part of her podcast production company, if you will, has been a part of releasing a lot of really cool series and specials about cases that have been considered cold or hitting dead ends, and finding some solution and some peace for the family, which is cool, right? I mean, it kind of goes back to, you know, if I want to do a video on music and you know, put out me performing, awesome. If I want to skip through the house and throw glitter, awesome. If I want to talk about crime podcast stuff, awesome. I think it's find what you love, be passionate about it, show up, because you don't realize who you're helping along the way. If my walking around through here and skipping and throwing glitter helps somebody, that's amazing. I would do it. I would totally do it. Absolutely. Oh, here's this is cool. So the new merch store is live. We're still working on kinks. A lot of new merch has come out. Mugs, hats, not hats. Mugs. Holy shirts and pants. Mugs, shirts, and hoodies. But when I personally send stuff out, I send them out in these little bubble wraps. Nonetheless, check out the store. I would love it if you did. I'll link it in the description later, or if it's already linked in there, and you can check it out. It's really cool how we did it. So what we did, there's a company. They are an AI. I don't know how it all works, but I'll try my best to explain it. So they hone in on like your brand, your sound, your style, like why, answering the why. And then what they do is they begin to create pieces and start to dial into your brand and you via AI. And over time, once it learns you, this is really scary. Once it learns you, then it spits out pieces. Then it spits out these descriptions and these tags specific for SEO. That's basically search engine optimization, if you want to be found on the internet kind of stuff. And then it created the web store, which is amazing. And then it creates all these automations and scenarios, and it all circles back, and basically a big computer robot's running my merch. It really is. It sounds, again, like I'm on crack. I'm not. And anytime I want, we can run limited runs of merch. We can essentially click a button, pull a lever, whatever you want to say, and it will spit out, because it's dialed into my brand, unique pieces of merch, and it will never recreate it for not only me, but anyone. So it's really cool. I mean, it's amazing, to be honest with you, that technology is to that point, which also makes me think about these videos that are popping up of, it looks like, like Joe Rogan, he's saying certain things and you see his mouth moving, you hear his voice. Not only is it's not creative editing, it's AI, which is scary, because just so you know, I'll let you in on another secret. I record my podcast through Descript. So in real time, it's transcribing the podcast. It's recording audio and video, but also run backup audio on Pro Tools. Pro Tools? Why did I say that? Logic. I do not run it on Pro Tools. I don't know why I said it. Logic. So then it takes the audio. In the event there's any issue with Descript, then I could import from Logic. Let's say I mess up saying a word. Let's say I don't say the word right. I leave it out. Let's say I stutter. I don't know. I can highlight the word. It knows my voice, and I can type it. Let's say I said tahi instead of the. I could highlight it and type the. Then it regenerates my voice, and you're none the wiser. Scary stuff. And it fixes the video. I don't know what it does, but I haven't done that. I haven't said tahi. But my point is that's what technology is able to do now. So this whole excuse that anybody would have, if you're in a creative world, if you're doing what I'm doing on any scale, you have absolutely no excuse whatsoever to not show up. I mean, it's amazing. And what else is amazing is I think it releases on Sunday, but I have to tell this short is I think it's gonna do really well. So weirdest demands of last wills, like will and testament, like the dog that got $80 million because the woman didn't have any heirs. Now Gunther the Fourth has like 400 mil, but this guy lived in Toronto and he was a very wealthy man. He owned all kinds of business. He had no family, so what he did as he was a trickster and a prankster, and he was a happy fella. He owned a big brewery. So what he did was, there were a bunch of Protestant church pastors, Protestant faith, I don't believe drink, and him being Catholic, me being Catholic, we love our libation. He gifted the brewery business. He wrote them in the will secretly without them knowing. The next thing that he did was he had this really nice lavish house on the beach in Jamaica. He willed that to 3 people that he knew that were in his circle that hated each other. So they 3 had equal ownership of that house. They had to go and hang out and I guess spend time together at the beach house and hopefully rekindle their relationship. And the last thing he did was he called it the Stork Derby. He said, upon my death, whoever has the most children after 10 years, they will get all of my money. And it is true, for 10 years there was a massive influx of reproduction and babies being born in Toronto. And there was a 4-way tie. 4 ways. And the 4 mothers, that each had 9 children apiece. And they got the remainder of the money. True story. Seriously. So, you never know. Or it could be like the guy that picked out 70 random strangers in the phone book. I know I talked about that, but that would be wild because half of you all don't even know what a phone book is. It's the thing that's now this thin, but it used to be this thick. And they throw it on your porch, and you take it, and you go and put it immediately in the trash. Or if you're a good person and you care so very much about the environment, you recycle it. Nonetheless, he picked out 70. His attorneys were calling and saying, hey, you get a shit ton of money. True story. Or you could be the guy, welcome to the world of me. Or you could be the guy that told his son, hey, I want to be a Frisbee. And the son thought he was being a goof. And really, when he died, he was cremated. And no, the attorney saw to it that his cremated remains, his ashes, were formed in a number of discs or Frisbees. And they were gifted to the kids and then to a few family members. And then it said that a few were auctioned off for charity. Hey, Mom, let's go to the local auction for the food pantry house thing, and I want to bid on these human cremated remains Frisbees. That's pretty interesting, huh? Nonetheless, what a guy. What a guy. And I have to say again, because my late grandmother loved Star Trek, but the creator of Star Trek, he shot into space. He's one of 150 people that has cremated remains. But in 2002, they actually, how did they know? I don't know. It's part of space debris, and it came back into Earth's orbit and burnt up. Luckily, there was a second set of his cremated remains, and they will be shot back out into space, but there's not a launch date just yet. But that is a true story as well. And then I have to say the last one that's really cool, the guy that worked at Marvel for a really long time, Mark Grunwald. He was an artist, editor, and writer for the comic books specifically. There was one that he really loved called Squadron Supreme or Supreme Squadron. Upon his death, he was cremated, and he wanted to have his cremated remains mixed in with the ink for the special collection of his favorite comic, and the production team saw to it that happened. So when they did the first run of that collection, it's his cremated remains that were mixed in the ink for the comic. True story. So you might have up in your closet, if you collected comic books, Mark Grunwald's cremated remains. I don't know. I think I want to just be in this lavish, massive, ridiculous mausoleum. It just has these massive doors that open. Oh, the guy. This is interesting. This guy, very wealthy man, lived in the late 1800s in this massive mansion. His two daughters, unfortunately died, and his wife dies. And he, as a believer in reincarnation, what he did was he bought this massive mausoleum at the residence. It's like $75,000, $55,000, one of the thousands, a lot. They were buried there. He bought a statue for each of them. And then he in his will said that he wanted to make sure that the house was ready upon their return. So for 60 years after his death, there was a custodian. Every day for 60 years, they lit the fire at the fireplace, and placed food on the table at the house for their arrival. True story. So this lasted for 60 years. The house was pristine, the fireplace was always lit, and there was food at the table because they were going to be hungry. They never came back, ever. It just didn't happen. But it's amazing. Like, there's this beautiful cemetery in Louisville, Kentucky called Cave City, I believe. Cave City Hill on the hill. Muhammad Ali's there. I've done a video on that. Colonel Sanders is there. I've done a video on that. But there's something beautiful about walking the places and spaces and seeing, like this man, he went obviously all out. And then you see the simplistic. But you see that people are still doing something to honor someone's existence and memory, to to pay tribute to them, to have a place in space that acknowledges their existence. I don't know. I think it's beautiful to just walk those grounds. I think it would be amazing to visit that house because, we talk a lot about like paranormal and unexplainable, but that house, I watched this video in the historian of not only that house but the city. There's not anything necessarily paranormal that they were discussing, but it was very much a pleasant feeling. The house was beautiful. The house was well kept still, and the historical society had taken it over after the 60 years. The custodian, I believe, was paid like 60 grand, which is insane to be paid. I need to confirm what like the total was, but nonetheless, dude had bank. He had bank. See, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build a statue of you. I'm just gonna line the house with it, and no, I don't want a statue. I want a mausoleum. I actually know we were just talking about this the other night about how but it's amazing how things change. Like your thoughts change and what you want. I don't know how you want to be celebrated. You should let me know in the comments. I would love to know. But there's this turn at the cemetery where my late grandmother and grandfather are, and right now it backs up to all of this crop or farmland, if you will. But the cemetery is quickly growing toward the farmland. So slowly but surely, that'll be developed into new sections of the cemetery. But this bend of the road, I have the bend, and I think it's 10 or 12 spaces that we have, and it's underneath these two beautiful trees, and that area is going to stay there. Like, that's not going to be developed aside from there, if that makes sense, of these plots, because they're going to build around it more of what you would call private estates, like a private mausoleum. And I don't know why. Is that like weird that I like it? Like, I like that space. That's cool. No, I don't know. We were just talking about how those thoughts change. And then I don't know. I don't know how long. I wonder how long that man that was like, you know what? We're going to buy all these statues of my kids and my wife, and then you're going to build a fire every day, and I'm going to come back one day. I wonder how long that was planned before his death. Oh, I forgot. Harry Houdini. Ooh, no, he was he was an escape artist, but he was, unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries from one of his tricks, getting punched in the gut. But he and his wife, Bess, they had cryptic messages that they agreed that, hey, if whoever dies first, we're going to share a specific cryptic message because you're going to have a seance every day until your death to hopefully make contact with me. And you'll know because of my bringing you the cryptic message. Nonetheless, when Houdini died, Bess honored the wishes up until her death. Seances happen. He never came to her. Damn the luck. Could you imagine if like that's what you believed? Like, how disappointing. You're like having these seances all the time to honor the memory of your loved one because they want to show up and tell you this message, and they never do. And you're like, what the hell? That'd be so deflating. Like, I lived all this time without you. I did everything you asked, and you didn't even come. And you died before. No, if it's legal, if it's ethical, the answer I always say is, I'll meet you where you are, because that's what it's about. Everybody celebrates different. So, what a day. What a day. Yeah, we had so many cool meetings, and it's really cool that this team is so close and tight, and the circle is a protected one because noise is very loud outside the circle. I just want to create. I just want to tell awesome, fun stories and, hang out with you all while I'm cleaning out a closet. And it's awesome that people on my team allow me to do that and handle all the heavy lifting. And so many people are working hard. So the single is doing what's called crossing over. AC radio is adult contemporary, not contemporary Christian. There's the Christian CCM market. Then you have adult contemporary. That's like Maroon 5, John Mayer, Taylor Swift's on there. A lot of your top 40 artists are also on the AC charts. Well, my single is crossing over from AC to top 40 as well. It means a good thing. 2 weeks in at radio and it's jumping over and people are wanting to hear it and talking about it. So thank you for supporting it. It means a lot. If you're going to watch a documentary, if you haven't watched American Nightmare yet, watch it. I loved it. Or Taken in Plain Sight or Something in Plain Sight on Netflix. You're going to be so, I'll tell you, you're going to be so pissed at the dad. Like, you're going to want to punch him in the face, respectfully. I mean it. Just with so much respect. I just give you the biggest punch in the chin out of love. It's just so annoying. It's like, who is that gullible that believes that this man, who's your friend, who is obviously obsessing over your daughter because for the 2 years prior, is like, you just want to punch him in the face. Nonetheless, you should. It's an interesting show. So thanks for the podcast suggestions and thanks for listening to the podcast, which, by the way, bonus noise episode, we're going to start releasing on Sundays. So subscribe for $5.99 a month. You get like first dibs in the journal. I'm excited about the next episode. I think you can subscribe, click the description, check out some merch, and a partridge in a pear tree. I'm out of here. I'm going to go eat dinner. Like, when I mean that, I mean a muffin.